Hello, friends, and welcome to your Daily Detroit. Welcome back from what turned out to be a beautiful weekend outside. I spent a little bit of time on Belle Isle, of course, enjoying our great state park. I'm Jer Stays. Joining me, as it is Monday, is
Fletcher Sharp.
Listen, Monday has been kind of stressful. I had to break out the cosmic brownies. Do you remember those? Like with the sprinkles and the thing? I have like the little emergency stash. I had to break out a cosmic brownie. It's been a day. It's been
a while since I've had one of those, but I do remember them. My weekend was spent on Belle Isle in the sun. There was the Kite Fest, which is an always amazing event to be a part of. So yeah, if you missed out, it's unfortunate, but next year you should definitely get to Belle Isle for the Kite Fest. A whole bunch of really cool kites that, as an adult, I did not think that I would be enamored by.
They were beautiful. I actually saw some of that near the end. I was there near the end of the afternoon. Let's talk a little sports. There are a lot of news to go through. Now, we aren't the biggest Red Wings show in the world, but you know what? There is some Red Wings news, and Steve Yzerman has the Yzerplan, and I really think we need to talk about it. Alex DeBrincat, the forward, is coming to Detroit from the Ottawa Senators. He is signed, is here. He did a media interview wearing a retro Pistons teal cap. The Wings picked him up from the Senators for Dominik Kubalik, prospect defenseman Donovan Sabrango, a conditional 2024 first-round draft pick, and Detroit's 2024 fourth-round selection. So, what do we got here? I feel excited because they've needed offense, they've needed a real score, and I think that DeBrincat brings that.
Not only that, but he also brings someone who is from the state, from Farmington Hills, Michigan. Went to Farmington Hills High School for a year to play before transferring out to go play at the Lake Forest Academy. I think he's a great player. He's one of the few. I know there's a stat, someone with 40 goals and over 100 hits in a season. On that list, Alexander Ovechkin 3 times. We all know that he's a Hall of Famer. Steven Stamkos, who will be a Hall of Famer, and Alex DeBrincat, and that's the end of the list. So to be on a list with those two people who are like certified poachers and forwards who are not afraid to get dirty, that's great to have. Not to go into the whole Detroit cliche, but I know a lot of Detroit people who root for their teams like their players to be a little gritty. If you're a forward who's willing to hit people and, potentially, muck things up a bit for the other opposing defense, people love that. So to come here, do that, I'm sure he's going to be loved real quick, not just for his goal scoring, but the fact that he's really ready to put his nose in the middle of the play.
And that locality, right? Like Metro Detroiters, we love people from our area and our state, and we need that kind of energy, right? Like we need that with the Wings because it's been a long time since I've been able to feel the juice on this enough that, yeah, we're going to make the Red Wings the top story.
Yeah, no, you definitely you love to see your players for your home teams do stuff like that, but it hits even harder when there someone who went to school, where you went to school or went to school with your rival. It's part of the reason why I think DCFC caught on so quickly with the fan base it wasn't just the fact that they had players who were playing. It's like, oh, this kid, yeah, he went to my college. I roomed with this kid, or this guy over here played for whatever. And like you get to see like the home connections. That's why seeing Jaden Ivey come back to the Pistons while he's not from Detroit, his mother played with the Shock. He's very familiar with the city. I love stories like that. Those stories to me mean a lot more because when those people invest in the community, they actually really invest in the community because they know exactly what they're doing. And not to say that it's bad if someone else outside the community does it, but the people from here know exactly what the people from here need. And those are the people that I really am happy to see help because it starts a good Ouroboros cycle of like, watch someone growing up from where you went, go pro. I want to do that so I can go and help and give back. And like, that's always just a positive vibe circle that you want to see given out.
This is the kind of move that I think I feel a lot better about getting into the playoffs. I know we're going to do a whole preview with our friend of the show, AK, and all that. There's a lot more to go, but I feel like this is finally like really the kind of move where I'm like, okay, I feel like this is going to be a better season.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to say this move makes him a title contender, but like it does push him back to getting towards the playoffs. I remember when I was younger, they had like a streak that was as long as my age, just about, from getting into the playoffs. I know a lot of people would love to get back to that because that feels like hockey culture. We all know that everyone here loves pure hockey culture.
Yeah, I mean, we're an original Six City, right? Like, I mean, still hockey town. So I'm just glad to see it, and I'm glad to see progress, and it makes me feel a lot more excited. Another thing I'm excited about is, although the record is not great, there are flashes of good things coming out of the Tigers. And there is this no-hitter among 3 pitchers over the weekend. Matt Manning, Jason Foley, and Alex Lang, they won in this 2-0 win, splitting a no-hitter. That's huge. Another interesting stat that I found according to OptaStats, the Tigers are apparently the second team in Major League history to allow at least a dozen runs in one game and then no-hit that same team the very next game. The other was the 1893 Baltimore Orioles, who allowed 14 runs to Washington. But it just goes to show that, like, irregularity of the Tigers. Sometimes I'm really excited about them. I went to a game earlier this year. It was great to watch. And then it's just like they just can't find that consistency.
I mean, you kind of expect that with a team that's very much in transition. Is you'll get your moments of like, that's what the future's about. Then you get moments like, oh God, why are they playing? But I mean, this is a great stat to have. A no, even if it's not, one person, is still an amazing feat. It's a very good team thing. I think no hitters in perfect games are not just the pitcher; it's also the team. Because if he's not striking someone out, people still need to catch the ball. People still need to throw the ball to first or second or wherever. So I think it's a great showing a real team stat. Yeah, obviously this isn't gonna like be the win that moves them into playoff position, but it's something positive in a season that's, been very up and down, as you said. So to see something good, you're hoping the thing that's bad, if it's coming around the corner, is not as bad as this thing was good.
The crazy thing is, we're carrying a .438 win percentage. We've only got 39 wins on the season, but we're only 5.5 games out in the Central. That's the crazy thing. Like, if we were just a 500 team, because the Guardians are 500, if we could just get to 500, like, our division is so terrible that if we can find some sort of rhythm like the rest of the season, we could be okay, which is awful, but great. I'll take it. I'll take the W.
Yeah, I mean, I'm split between whether I want them to make the playoffs or not, because I think it would be funny for them to make the playoffs under 500, but also I don't want them to get in and get slaughtered, because that's not fun. You don't want to see your team, it's like, we're in the playoffs, and then you lose 2 games like 17-0, and it's like, well,
I mean, look, okay, so I'm going to leave it to the people. dailydetroit@gmail.com, or drop us a voicemail, 313-789-3211. That's 313-789-3211. I want to hear from you about, do you want the title, or are you with Fletcher on this one, and it doesn't feel like the real thing? I want to hear what you all think. So
I'm sure they're not going to agree with me, but give them a chance to be on the right side of things,
Okay, I feel a lot less smiles about this next topic because we need to talk about Detroit City FC's 1-0 loss against New Mexico United. It's a game that we were in for most of the match. I don't feel like we should have been in it. I feel like the crossbar. I mean, first off, Nate stood on his head in some situations, and then number 2, that crossbar was our best friend for that match. And I'm just sitting here. I don't know if it's like a thumb twiddle or a what, but I got so many questions about like what we should do. We're definitely into that last half of the season part. I feel like we've got some games ahead that we really need to win. And I know from the inbox, fans are concerned. I know that there are a lot of questions. Let's talk about the match really first, and then I will get into a couple of listener questions, and then we'll talk about this Loudon match on Wednesday, which I really think is a must win.
Yeah, the first half, they absorbed a lot of pressure and honestly should have been down 2-0. Twice the crossbar got hit, one on a shot that was destined to go in, another on a header from Daniel Bruce, who somehow, being 5'7", struck the crossbar and went up. I'm not really sure how he even did that. They had another chance also where Nate got beat, but Stephen Carroll cleared the ball off the line.
That was good to watch.
Like, they were just trying to hang around, which is fine. And then Dom Gassa went out with an injury, which is not awesome. I'm hoping he's all right. Typically, if you come out that early in a match, it's either because you're playing poorly or because you're hurt. And statistically, he was not playing poorly. So one's the hoping that he was all right. Unfortunately, Devin Umensa had a very bad 10 seconds. He gave the ball away when they shifted to 4 at the back. Gave the ball away, was frustrated with it, did not get back immediately. And unfortunately, by the time he got back, his man, Daniel Bruce, received a pass who crossed it into the box, and Alex Wagner, the 19-year-old for them, had hit it in. And at that point, it was just, we got to try to score. And the problem with the way DCFC plays is their team is built to scrap it out. But like if you keep them at arm's length, they can't do anything. So if you get a goal up and they need to press to try to get goals, it's very predictable what they're going to do as a defense. So you can just sag back and just make them kick it long before you boot it right back the other way. And that's exactly what happened. They gave up a late goal, and at that point, we just got to get up there and just kick the ball towards the net as often as we can. And like that's not going to always work. It's going to very rarely work, actually. They turn that tie into a loss. And I mean, I expected them to lose that game. I thought they were going to get blown out. Thankfully, they didn't. On the stat sheet, they kind of did in the first half. They kind of leveled it out in the second half. But it's not looking good for them, especially going into this match with Loudon, who have lost a few players. Panos Armenakis, who I've been talking about a lot, he got traded to Phoenix. But they still have Zach Ryan and Thomas Williamson and Khalil Medkar. Like they have some people who can put the ball in the net. Zach Ryan is within the top 5 in the league, scoring 7 or 9 goals, depending on what you're looking at the season, or U.S. Open Cup as well this year. So they have some legit people who put the ball in the net. So against those teams, you have to score. This whole trying to grind it out thing is not going to cut it. And you got to get into the playoffs. You need to win, and grinding it out is for people who are comfortable. And right now, DCFC should not be comfortable.
So let's get into those listeners' questions. I'll start with the first one, which is I'm just going to paraphrase 6 people. Why no Dario Suarez? In my mind, I'm like, you traded for this guy. You made so much effort for him. You need to fast track him to the front, or else why did you do this? Which is frustrating to me.
Well, one, trading for him was a cap relief. Dario has a 1-year contract left. Tommy McCabe was signed on for a 2-year deal. So, like, if Dario works, you can re-sign him. If he does not work, you can let him go, and that's the end of his contract with you. Him being older with an expiring contract is more lucrative than someone like Tommy McCabe, who is younger with a smaller deal. Same with Brett Levis. But for on-field stuff, 1B, Trevor's very stubborn. And like that's a good trait to have as a coach, because if you really feel something, it's your way. The problem is if it's not working, but you really feel it's about to work, you'll be willing to take as many lumps as you can until it starts to work. Then you're like, look at my tactic, not realizing you lost 6 games in a row or tied a bunch of games in a row. So stubbornness there. And totally, I get that. That's just going to be a personal trait. We have to be okay with that. Number 2, while Dario has been on the team for, a few weeks now, for sure, he's still kind of learning the offense. I know soccer doesn't really have any set plays. It's not like, football, you have like a quarterback boot out, whatever. The routes are all memorized. Same with basketball. With more soccer, it's more of just positioning and rotation. You have to learn where your teammates are, because while you might make a set thing, it's still, well, maybe this player likes to cut left, but for me, I like to sit right here, then go forward. So it's kind of like learning your people's spacing so you can know how to get the ball and move them from A to B. And the last reason, which probably might be a bit less of one in Dario's advanced age, the Dario Suarez I knew for AFC Ann Arbor and early on for Miami was a wing player. Very quick wing player. Dario doesn't have the explosiveness he had before, but he's still a wing player in my mind. DCFC doesn't have wing players. They have 2 forwards up top and an attacking mid, which Dario could slot in as attacking mid. But to do that, you have to take someone off. So do you take off Ben Morris, which probably yes, who is who out and out forward up top? Do you take off Skage, who can function as an attacking mid at his best position, or up top? Do you take off Connor Rutz, who can function in the wing or in the attacking mid? Do you take who comes off for him? Who comes off to make space for him, and who else goes where? Because if you're taking someone off, like taking off Ben Morris, Dario will not work that well up top. He's not built to be a number 9 attacking player, which is what they're going to be using him as if he goes up top. So, like, it's really about positioning and just who's going to go where to fit him in. It's the reason why Richard Ballard and Adrian Billhart are not playing as much, is because they are different positioned players who really don't fit into DCFC's offense. They really were brought on kind of because they didn't have much else to go, and DCFC needed players who had some semblance of playing in the USL function. So, like, they have a kind of a misfit toys kind of roster of players who don't necessarily fit, but who are going to have to fit because that's what they have right now. I expect to see Dario play a bit more, but like I don't expect to see him like starting or playing 90 minutes anytime soon unless someone's hurt, just because that's just what Trevor's not going to do. He has the forwards he wants to have out there. If anyone's going to go up there to start, it's probably going to be Yazid for Skage. But like, I don't see Dario starting anytime soon. I see him playing more. If he does start, it's going to be near the end of the year. I don't see it this Wednesday. Like, if I'm wrong, happy to be wrong, but I don't see Dario. I don't see 92 in the starting 11 for at least the next few games.
I'll be honest, that's really frustrating. I don't like that at all, because what we're doing isn't working, right? Like, if you told me that and we're 5th, okay, but we're 10th. And if we don't win this game, we're going to be cemented in 10th, right? Like, we need this game against Loudon to get caught up with them. If we lose, I think that it makes for a very large gap from not only points, but also head to head. And then I'm also going to push back here because, like, so, and I say this metaphorically, I mean no actual violence, but most punchable face in the USL Championship, Philip Goodrum, and he should take that as a compliment because it means he's under my skin, right, as like an opposition. I don't mean this in like a violent or bad way, but he just annoys me. He's already in the lineup and working hard for FC Tulsa. What's the difference there?
Tulsa didn't have anybody up there. Like, they traded away players who played in his position to put him there.
I'd argue we don't have enough up there ourselves.
I mean, no, but we have someone who's already there. Like, we had an attacking mid. We had a forward up top. Tulsa traded away their attacking mid and their forward and a bunch of other stuff with other teams, and they had holes to fill. It's why Tommy McCabe is starting for them, because they needed someone to fill in that role because they did not have anyone to fill in that role. Dario coming here was like, okay, well, you have a position to play. We have someone there, though, so you have to outwork him because we already know what he does. What can you do? If DCFC had traded away, like, say, Ben Morris or Skage or Connor or Maxi for Dario would start because he'd slot in one of those spots. But because we have people who are there already, who are established, who know the offense from the beginning of the day, you got to wait. And I know that's frustrating to hear, but unless they're trading for someone who's like playing in the MLS right now or playing somewhere else who has like a longer CV in terms of like what they've done, you're not going to just oust somebody like that. Like, that's not going to work at all. Like, we traded for Milan Iloski and he came here. Yes, Milan Iloski would start for DCFC. If he didn't start for DCFC, like, I would have some serious questions because he's the Golden Boot winner from last year and he's shown that he can score. But like, aside from that, if you're coming from team to team mid-season, you probably are going to sit for a minute before you get out there and play just to figure out some stuff. I think maybe he should be playing 45 minutes as opposed to like 30 or 20. But like, him not starting, I'm not necessarily like shaken up about that because I understand you have to you have to tactically get players. Heck, I've seen people join recreational soccer teams and not understand the role of the team until like 10 games later. And like, this is a much higher, much complex thing. Yes, Dario is better than an average recreational soccer player, but playing up there is a bit more complex than playing with, your bar league friends. So it's about waiting and biding his moment. I know Dario would love to get out there as much as he could, but also if Trevor's not calling on him right now, Trevor's not calling on him right now. So that's the best way I can put it.
Yeah. I mean, this makes me think of another thing that a couple people asked me about, and we just didn't have a chance to talk about it. Cy Goddard's no longer with the team. He seems to be a signing that just didn't work out for us. And I mean, he was amicably parted before his contract ran up. He is now without a team, but he never found a place with the club.
Yeah, I feel really bad for Cy Goddard. Like 100%, when they signed him, I was confused about it, and I made that very public. You can go back and listen to the old record if you really like to. I was confused because he was an attacking wing player, and I'm like, well, maybe he'll slot in at the attacking mid player up top. Maybe that's one thing he'll do because that's what he does. He got to start one game. He played about 60 odd minutes, maybe I think another game later than last year, and then that was it. Then we heard rumblings about we're going to move him to a wing back position because we don't have a wing back player because Declan Wynn left, which I immediately said, oh no, that sounds horrible. Why would you take someone whose professional career has been one position and move them to a different position? Unless you really, really need them and you don't have the money to replace them. Okay, that's fine. So Cy Goddard played one game at the left wing back position against one of the best teams in the league in San Diego Loyal. He looked very pedestrian, which is what we all expected. Then Cy Goddard was never heard from again. The last time he played this year was in that 5-1 blowout against Tampa Bay when the game was already decided. And I'm like, that's not fair at all. We cannot evaluate his talent based off the fact he's played against two really great teams and not so much time. Like, obviously, the first professional game at left wing back, you're going to struggle because you've never played left wing back before in a professional game. Like, that's like me saying, hey, Jer, I know you know how to speak English. Why don't you go speak some Portuguese to me now? That's got to suck to be told one thing and then show up and then get the exact opposite thing. And then when you can't do it, it's like, well, all right, you're going to sit on the bench. Perfect personal anecdote. High school, I was a quarterback. New coach comes in senior year. He's like, go play free safety. Didn't really do that great of a job. He's like, you know what? Go play punt protect. I'm not big enough to do that, so I got blown up. He's like, well, you can't do that. Go sit on the bench. Okay, I guess these 11 years of playing football in one position mean nothing to you. Okay, all right, you're the coach. So hopefully he finds somewhere that fits for him. He seemed to do all the right things when called upon. Never said anything loud or publicly with allusion to Willie Spur, who used to play for the team and was very publicly against his usage and contacted his agent, became a big saga. Cy was not that. So again, wish him well. Hopefully he finds somewhere that fits for him. Maybe even in the league, maybe in USL League One, maybe back in Australia, or maybe, in Japan or England. Wherever he needs to find somewhere, hopefully he finds somewhere to play, because I know he's got some talent in his shoes.
All right, I'm going to say my piece really quick. This has been in my craw now, and I have been mostly quiet about it. But and I would love to hear people's thoughts on this. But I'm done with those road uniforms. I'm done. I think they can be a third kit. There was a great example by John Hevron, like a fake kit that would be that kind of green mint verdigris, as they call it, along with black, and that looked really nice. But like, this needs to be a third kit, man. I'm tired of this, and I'm only reflecting this because I've been on the sidelines, as you know, for these home matches. And when I talk to fans, when I talk to listeners, they're done. Like, this is LeRouge. I'd like our kits back, please.
You were with me when they unveiled them at the media event, and I quietly but like harshly said, "What are those?" Because I was confused, and it was explained to me what it was, and I was like, "That makes sense, because Spirit of Detroit, I get it." But also, like, you can't call yourselves the Reds and then go somewhere and not have any of that like that. That doesn't really make much sense. It's like kind of. I hate to say this because people are going to sound clip it, but it's kind of like, Rachel Dolezal-ing yourself. It's like, yes, I'm a black woman. It's like, well, where is it? You can't say you're LeRouge if you have no rouge on your kit at all. Not even like a little stripe or something. You can't do, that's not. And also they wear them like all the time. They wear them home. They wear them away. Like they're not wearing the kit that people know them as. And it's very, even commentators are like, I guess they're wearing white and green.
Question. Is that going to be our new colors? Are we in for a color change?
I don't think so. I think they understand that. I think they want to let everyone know that this is our kit. Look, this is our kit. Look at it. Look at it. Look at it. Look at it type of thing. But like, no, I'm really hopeful. Really hopeful. I'm going to go on a limb. When Las Vegas Lights comes here later this month to play on ESPN, the ESPN game that they have, they're going to be wearing their maroon home kits. Like, otherwise, what are you doing?
It's terrible branding if they don't.
What's the point of this? So I'm hopeful that when it comes time to be really out there, you wear the kit that everyone knows that made you famous. Because otherwise, I don't understand it at all. And then again, I'm not one of those people who's in charge of making decisions, because my decisions would be very different than the ones being made right now.
Pato will be back in town. You shared with me an interesting stat about Pato that kind of blew my mind. I was surprised.
Yeah, the Las Vegas Lights are having, if you can believe, a worse year than Detroit. They have a worse record, worse goal differential, etc. But Pato is thriving. He leads their team in goals scored. He has 4. His 4 goals are 1 less than all of DCFC's forwards players combined. And honestly, that includes Ben Morris's really quick 2 goals he scored. Otherwise, he would have had more goals than all of their forwards. Which, again, I watched 2 of his goals that he scored. They both were like the goals I said that he scores a lot, where it happens to be like a scrimmage or like, a scuffle, and all of a sudden he happens to tap the ball into the net, which is a skill to have. I will not take that away, but it's really more of a luxury skill. But given that Detroit has not really put the ball in the net in moments like that, you could say he's been missed. He's gone somewhere where he's become kind of the guy. Last game I saw, he was wearing the captain's armband, which is an amazing honor. But also, like, their team is a mess. So my biggest fear for Detroit City is that Pato comes back and the lights play lights out and he scores a hat trick. If that happens, like I don't think anything good's going to happen next for the stadium.
With that, feedback, dailydetroit@gmail.com, voicemail 313-789-3211. Would love to hear what you think about LeRouge. With that, I am Jer Stays.
And I'm Fletcher Sharp.
Thank you so much for listening. Remember that you are somebody. We'll see you around Detroit.